Reduce, reuse, recycle, recycle. Reduce, reuse, recycle, recycle. Hi, I'm Priya Muthukumar, storyteller from Storypur, and I'm sure you guessed it right that today's story is going to be all about reduce, reuse, recycle. I'm sure you know about these three important words, right? Yeah? Okay, come on. So then let's play a little game before we go to the story. Okay? So, three words have three different actions. Let's pay attention to the actions before I tell you what the game is going to be all about. Reduce. It's like this. Reuse. Using it again and again. Recycle. Like cycle. Okay, reduce, reuse, recycle. Three actions. Now I'm just going to call out the words, tell the words, and you're going to do the action. And I'm going to try my best to confuse all of you. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Reduce, reuse, recycle, reduce, reuse, recycle, recycle, reduce, reuse, reuse, reduce, recycle. Do the actions. Reuse, reduce, recycle. Well done. I'm sure all of you did it correctly. Let's go to the story right away. This is a story which is almost 2,500 years ago. And this particular storytelling is based on the brilliant book What Happened to My Shawl, which has been retold by Arvind Gupta and has been illustrated by Debasmita Dasgupta. And the book has been published by Pratham Publishers. Let's go to the story. One beautiful day, when the sun was shining brightly and the trees were swaying from this side to that side, and the birds were chirping away happily, Gautama Buddha, or Lord Buddha, was taking a walk down his garden in his monastery. He was greeted by his students, one of his students. O Master, the enlightened one. Buddha turned and looked at him, and the student continued, I need something from you. Buddha looked at him and asked him what he was seeking for. And the student said, I need a new shawl. It's becoming cold these days. And can you get me one? Buddha smiled approvingly, but wait a minute. Buddha stopped, looked at him and asked, you must have had an old shawl, a shawl. What happened to that one? The student smiled and answered, I kept using that shawl again and again that it became so old and worn out. It tore. So I have started using it as my bed cover. Buddha smiled at his student. The student, instead of throwing away his old shawl, he is using it as his bed cover instead of throwing it away. Buddha was impressed. But wait a minute. Buddha stopped. What did you do with the old bed cover then? You must have had one already. The student smiled and said, I kept lying on it again and again and again and again that it became so old and worn out and torn that I cut it up and I stitched it into a pillow cover. So it's a pillow cover right now, said the student. Buddha looked at his student admiringly and told to himself, the shawl was used as a bed cover instead of being thrown away. The old bed cover was used as a pillow cover instead of being thrown away. Buddha was really impressed. But wait a minute. Buddha stopped, looked at his disciple and asked, but you must have already had another pillow cover, the old one. What did you do with that pillow cover? The student patiently answered, I kept resting my head on the pillow cover, and my head kept rubbing against it that it became so old, worn out, and it tore. There was a big hole right in the middle. So instead of throwing it away, I just used it as my doormat. Buddha smiled at his student. The student had used the old shawl as his bed cover. He was using the old bed cover as his pillow cover. He was using the pillow cover as a doormat now. Buddha was really impressed. But wait a minute. Buddha looked at his student and asked, You must have had an old doormat. What did you do with that now? Huh? What do you guys do in your house with your old doormat? Think about it. Let's see what the student answered. Oh, that, my dear awakened one, the enlightened one, I kept stepping on the doormat every time I entered my house. I kept rubbing my feet every time I entered my small hut. The doormat also became old, worn out, it tore. The threads started coming out. So I took them out carefully. I braided them and I started using them as wicks for my oil lamps. Buddha smiled. He looked at his student. He told himself, what a student. The shawl was used as a bed sheet. The bed sheet, when it became old, was cut and made into a pillow cover instead of being thrown away. The pillow cover, when it became old, was used as a doormat instead of being thrown away. And the doormat, instead of being thrown away when it was old and torn and worn out, the threads were removed and were being used as wicks for the oil lamps. Buddha smiled and walked away. The next day, the disciple, the student, received a brand new shawl from Lord Buddha himself. And that's the end of the story, my dear friends. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Reduce, reuse, reduce, reuse, recycle, recycle. Let's do it now. Let's do it now. Let's do it right now if we haven't been doing it yet. Okay? The shawl, the bedsheet, the pillow cover, the doormat, and the wicks. Not just that. There are so many other things in our house, right? What are we doing? What all we can do. Okay? Let's think about that. And that's it for today. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Bye-bye. See you soon. And wait a minute. I always keep forgetting things, okay? Reuse the story. Retell the story, okay? Tell your friends, tell your parents, tell your teachers, everyone. And if you're a grown-up, if you're a child like me, big child like me, then tell your small children, okay? Spread the good word. Spread the message. Bye-bye.